about lists, and so we will proceed from where we stopped yesterday. I showed you how to make a list yesterday. So we can create a list by giving the list a name, which you call a variable. So when you assign a variable to the list, so you can do many things with the list. I'll show you some of the things you can do with the list today, inshallah. Let me just give me 1 minute. So among the things you can do with the list is you can pick a number from the list itself. Just give me 1 minute. Go. You can pick a specific value from the list. You can as well pick you can select any value you want to select from the list. So there are many things we can do with the list. So I will show you one of them very soon. Just let me, my Google Colab, let it open. So, okay, here we go. Now, can you see my screen? So this is how we did with the list yesterday. So we created a list and we named it my list. So you can actually give your list any name that you feel is okay, but make sure that the way you define the variable is a way we've mentioned before. So, we mentioned in the previous video how to give your values. Don't give your values, don't give a variable name in a name that would not be the best. Don't give in a name that would look strange. So some names would look strange because they're actually not the way to write variables. So they will give you problems. They will throw some error messages. So now let's take a look at another way we can have another list. So we can continue to improve the number. We can continue to, even if we can have 1,000 values in our list. So what can we do with the list? The list items are ordered, changeable, and they allow a duplicate. This is very important. This word here is very important. So when they say, because among the questions they usually ask you in the exams or quizzes is about these things. They say, what are the qualities of a list? So what are the qualities of a list means what are the things that make a list be different from other, what are the things that make the list different from other types of data types? So among the things that make it different is always in order. You always have a list in order. You arrange it in order, it's gonna remain the same. Another thing is it's something you can easily change, you can manipulate it. If you put a list today, you can change it tomorrow. You can also change it another time. If you find, for example, you have new updates, new inputs, you can put new things into it. You can remove the old things. You can also have duplicate values. You can have values that could be duplicate. So this is something about list. So list items are also indexed. So index, index, that means that the first item has index of 0. I would explain that to you. Anytime you look at programming language, we usually think the programming language is like someone was asking me that when I said print my name, print my class, print my grade, is that it just like writing things in Word? I said, yes. But after you said print, that what you see printed is a language the computer understands. It is the language the computer understands. But before that time, the computer will not understand what you're doing. Whatever you write, which is not print, is not understood by the computer. So the computer will not understand it. So this is exactly what we want you to understand. So now let's go to the Google Colab and show you some things we can easily do with a list. So I would open the Google Colab and I will share my screen now. Inshallah. So now here, let's say we have a list. Let's use the list 2. So if you want to print it, you can as well say my list. You can use my list. So remember the name is my list, isn't it? You can say print my list. Print my list. So you run it. So let's wait till it responds. It's always a bit slow if you're starting for the first time. So there is a problem now. I said my list is not defined. Who can tell me what the problem is? What could be the problem? Why is it yelling? Why is it shouting? It said my list is not defined. Why? Does it mean
You're supposed to put underscore.
The spelling is not correct.
The spelling is not correct?
Yes.
But we had my list here, which is Omar Nuruddin Wakil with the same spelling. So that is not the problem. The spelling is correct. So what could be the problem?
Underscore.
No. This is we're calling this. Okay, let's put underscore. What we're calling, we know what we're calling. Let's even put underscore, right?
Yes, sir.
As
It means that probably you need to rerun that program that we had my lists with the names in it.
That's
Maybe
great.
if we rerun.
So we need to rerun the one that has the list because the kernel is already dead. There's something we call kernel, which is like the brain of the what of this platform we're working with, is dead now. It's already dead. It does not understand anything. So now you need to rerun this first. So if you rerun this and you now print my list, it's going to tell you what the response. Can you see that? So thank you very much, the person who gave that response. That shows you're really together with me. So whenever you're working on something in Jupyter Notebook, if you come back the next day, the kernel is dead. The kernel usually die within 8 hours. So the kernel is already dead. You have to rerun those sections in which you want to work with. If I want to print X now, it will tell me it's not defined because it's already forgotten it. So you need to rerun it again once the kernel is dead. The kernel usually die just to save your memory because if it continues to run, it's going to run down your memory. And that is the reason why it's very good for you to let the kernel die or you shut it down yourself. So this is exactly what happened. Thank you very much. So now let's deal with this print my list. So we can index because the indexing is, if you have a list, this Umar, which you see here, is having an index of 0. And Shoaib is having an index of 1. Nuruddin is having an index of 2, and Wakil is 3. How do you want to know this? We can call the index to know that. So let's say, for example, you want to print, it's a print my list, then you put index, 2, for example, you put index 2. So then you run it, it gives you Nuruddin. Nuruddin is the one in the index number 2. How do you do this? You write print my list. After the my list, you write a square bracket. The square bracket, you write the index you want to call into it. So we want to call index number 2, then we have it. This indexing is not something that is only unique to lists. We can also use it for strings. Let me show you for an example. Let me show you, let's say Python course. Python underscore course equals to I love Python programming. So now you have to pull your quotation. So now this is a string. So you can say print Python underscore course. Okay, let me just use course, not to make a life miserable. Print course. Print course. So when you call print course, it's going to print something. I love Python programming. So now, what if I decide to print a specific index? I want to print index number 3, for example, and I run it. What did it print? It's printed O, which is for the love. Now, if you do the counting, let's say, for example, you want to print, you say print index number 1. It prints nothing. Can someone explain to me what happened here? Why did it print nothing for index number 1 and it printed O for index number 3? Anyone who can explain that? Anyone?
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't understand the index. That is why I don't answer that.
Okay.
Index. How do we get the index from Nuruddin, from the list?
Now I would explain now. Index is Python programming is a kind of program, or every computer programming, they start the counting from 0, not from 1. All right. So they start the counting from 0, not only 1. When you have things in a string, or you have something in a list, or you have something in the dictionary or wherever, they are being arranged from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to the end. So now, if you have a list, for example, this list is arranged 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me say, for example, I want to print in index 5 from this list 2. I want to print index 5. So when I run it, it's going to print 7 for me. Why did it print 7? Because this is 0. This is index number 0. This is index number 1. This is index number 2, index number 3, index number 4, index number 5, index number 6, index number 7, index number 8. We call that indexing because every number which is in this list is indexed to one specific value, which you can use to call this number anytime. Let's say, for example, you have a list which has got 200 names. Will you be looking for all the names one after the other? No. You will be able to know which name you index with one specific number, and you can be able to call it. You can try to call the index on the top. You can also call the index from behind. Let me give an example now. If I want to call this index a number, I want to call it from behind. What do? I will say index -1. So I would index -1. What would it give me? It's going to give me 0. Counting from the behind is called indexing with a negative value. In this case, this is only specific to Python. No any other programming language can index from behind. They only index from the front. So every programming language with index from the front and starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because you might decide to get a specific value. Let me say, for example, these names now, I have, let me even do this. Let me say, let me play one game here. Let me say, my print my list. Print my list times 10. Let's try to see if it's gonna work. It didn't really work. Yeah, let me say, let me do this. Let me say, my list 3 equals to my list. So my list times 10.
It's only going to print the word my list.
Just wait, but don't worry, just listen, let's watch it and see. Now, my list 3 print. I'm gonna show you everything you want to know, you know. I want to take it easy with you before, but now I'm saying that it seems to get into too sluggish. So it's printing my list. Okay. Now what I would do is this. I would print this and I'll put this into quotation together. So I'll put this into quotation together and see if it's gonna work. So let's run it. Now let's not print list 3. So it's not working. So we have to multiply these things naturally the way we have it. So we cannot work it that way. So it's not going to work, but it can work with numbers. So you can have numbers being multiplied by several times. But this is not actually what I'm adding to. I'm trying to get you more lists. But let's limit our work to these show lists we have today. Now, the point I'm actually making is indexing is pretty easy. You can decide to get a value from a number or from word or from wherever you have. You can decide to have multiple numbers. So if you have a lot of numbers, just call the index. Now, what about if you want to get an index, the second number from behind, what do? You will call the what? You call the index. You say index -2. Then you run it, it's going to give you what? It's going to give you 8. So if you call the index from behind as well, you call index -3. Index -3 is going to give you what? It's going to give you 8 again. Did you see? So, and if you call index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's go index 5. Okay, we call 5 before, right? Let's go index 6. We don't usually encourage people to call index of 2 long numbers. Either you call index 6 or you call index -3, it's going to give you the same value. Either -3 or either 1 from the front. You can also call index. You can say index between 0, I want to have index between 0 and 3. I want you to listen very well. I would explain it if you don't understand. So what is it going to give you? It's going to give you 1, 2, 3. You understand what I'm saying? So you call that, you said, I want index. I want you to give me number, which is index between 0 and 3. So it gave me index of 0, 1, and 2, but it did not give me that.
I'm sorry, Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Please, can we use comma to call it out? 0.3.
We cannot use comma 3. We need to use colon 3. You understand? We used to use colon. We want to call index of numbers in between. We want to call numbers in between index 0 and index 3. But it's not going to involve that 3. It's not going to call the 3. Let me give another example. Let's say we want to index number between 1 and what and 6. We want to call the numbers between index 1 and index 6. So when you run it, it gives you index number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. It does not give you number 6. It's not going to give you. We can also do indexing by saying, give me everything before that. In that case, you're not going to write anything before it. Anything before till index number 6. If you call this and run it, it's going to give you everything before what? Before index 6. It gives you 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. It gives you index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everything before 6, you have it, but you don't have that 6 itself. You understand what I'm saying? And you can also
No.
say, give me index of anything after index number 4. And now you write that index 4 a colon. So what does it give you? It prints everything after index number 4, and it doesn't what till the end of it. It prints what? And this is index 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it starts from 4 to the end. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Does this seem to make sense now? We can use this indexing for the names we have in the list. Now let me use list index number 2. So let's say, for example, you want to call the index of, let's say you want to call index from nothing to 2, and you run it. What would it give you? It's going to give you Omar and Shoaib, because Omar and Shoaib are 0 and 1. So, but it's not going to give you 2. But let's say you decide to call another index of anything after 2. Anything, any number, any figure after index 2, you want to see it, you just call this, and it's gonna give you Nuruddin and Wakil. So this is how we manipulate the data we have in a list. So you can decide to do more. You can decide to even use the negative numbers. Let me do more. Let me say I want index negative.
Please, sir.
Yeah.
But in the list, Nuruddin is number 3. So when we put print my list 2, it brought Nuruddin.
Yeah,
How
because
come?
indexing start from 0.
If it is 0,
Indexing starts
Nuruddin
from
should be
0.
number 4.
This is index. Umar is number 1, but he's having index number 0. Shoaib is number 2, but having index number 1.
Oh,
Nuruddin is
yeah,
number 3, is having
number
index
2.
number 2. And Wakil
No,
is
I got it.
number 4, is having index number 3.
Number 3. Yes,
Is that
I
understood?
got it. Thank
So
you.
we can either use a negative
Yes, I
index
understand.
or a positive index. So if I'm using a negative index now, I want to print index -1. What will it print? You can tell me what it's going to print. What would it?
Nuruddin,
Index
number 1
-1
is gonna be Wakil.
is going to
I
print
think
because
0.
I'm calling from the back, isn't it?
Wakil, sir.
That's good. Okay, what about if I want to print index -1 to end? Let's say to the end of it. It's still going to print what? It's going to print me Wakil. So because there's nothing after it. Is there anything after it? Nothing.
No.
So what about if I want to print something before index 1? So everything before the index 1 is going to be printed except that index -1. So that's why it printed Umar, Shoaib, and Nuruddin. If you know how to use the index very well, you become a star in any way you work. Subhanallah. When did Umar leave again? Let's stick to the class and stop leaving and coming back, because I don't usually check the waiting room once the class starts. Okay. I think you understand what I'm saying now. Do we all understand this? Or you want me to shed more light on it? So if you want me to shed more light on it, so I will shed more light on it. So indexing, it's something which is very important in programming to know. And it's usually we do indexing with every data, either with strings, either with integers, either with a list, any data which is contained. We have a variable, when we have a container for it, we can index those values. We can call the index of it. So let me talk more about this. For example, I have a course, I love Python. I was asking you, why do we have index 1 and we didn't have anything printed? Because it's going to count the space as part of the index. So index number 0 is I. Index number 1 is nothing, is a space. Index number 2 is L. Index number 3 is O. If you want me to try, I'll do it again. So index number 2 is going to print what? It's going to print L. Sorry. Use course. So if you run it, did it say there is a space left here? So did you see it did not write anything over it? Because there is a space here. So this is exactly why it did not print anything. It's printing a space. You don't think it's not printing something, it's printing a space for you. So it's leaving that space for you. So this is exactly what's happening there. So if you want to print negative index, you say my course. So course negative, let's say we print -5. So when you run it, it's going to print M. It's going to count -1, -2, -3, -4. It's going to print M. So then -5 is also M. -6 would give you what? Who knows what -6 would give you? What would -6 give you? Anybody? If you don't want to, it's going to give you A.
A.
If you don't want to talk, you can type it in the meeting chat. It's also acceptable. So if you run it now, it's going to give you A. Do you see? So now this is what.
Hello, sir.
So this is what indexing is. I think you understand it now. So now let's move on
Hello,
to.
hello, sir.
Yeah.
Why is counting the letter in the I love Python program?
Yeah.
And it count the names name by name. So that one is the other one is counting by letter. Why does it count it by the word?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Because you had a list. That one was a list, and this was just strings. When you have a list, you have them. You have a word being quoted. You understand? You have a word being quoted in the word in a specific list. For example, apple is known as one word. Banana is known as one word, and it's been separated with quotation and a comma. It's not going to see it as one letter. But when you have a string, it sees all those letters as single letters, and it sees the space as single space. If you decide to put a quotation in between, it's going to see the quotation as what? As only one letter as well. You understand what I'm saying? Let's say, for example, you say, I love Python, that you put into quotation so much. It's going to see that so much as one entity, and it's going to count the remaining I love Python as different entities. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. It makes sense. I do understand.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
So now let's
I
talk.
also have a question, so I'm sorry to bring
No
you back.
problem. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, when when we were indexing the figures in my list,
Yeah.
and we wanted to list a set of subjects or entities before a particular index,
Yeah.
will it include that particular index in it when it is listing it, or it's just going to omit it? Because I practiced one here where I asked it to list numbers, the column and 10. which means I wanted it to list the numbers before 10, and then it
It's gonna
included
list all
10,
these numbers and it's gonna omit 10.
but 10 was also listed. Can we showcase that so that I can be sure I'm not doing the wrong thing?
If 10 is the
Sorry
last,
to call the
no,
class,
okay, let's go back to the let's go back to the 1 minute. Okay, let me get it properly. Now let's say you want to call numbers. So you said, what did you say? Print what? Tell me here. Print my list.
we cannot see your screen.
Oh, really? Sorry. What about now? Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we're now seeing that.
Okay,
Yeah,
now
it's
tell
not
me.
fun.
You said, for example, I want to print malice underscore 2. So what index did you use? Tell me. Tell me who was asking the question. You said you used what index?
Oh, sorry. I've been talking. I didn't know. I didn't notice I muted myself. So let's put full colon 8.
So
Index 8.
And what?
8, yes. 8.
No, it's number 8.
Yes, sir.
So now let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
0, 1.
7, 8, 9. So it's gonna be, this is the last number.
Yeah, that should be 8.
Isn't
that
it?
should be 0.
That should be 0.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you wanted to call any number, it's gonna call you every number, which is before 8. It's gonna call you every number which is before the 8 index 8. But it's not gonna give you that index 8. This is exactly what I'm saying. Is understood? Do you see now?
Okay.
Maybe you made a mistake.
Okay. I think I was calling instead of
gonna-
8, I was calling 9. Yeah. I get it now.
If you have it values, all the values here is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you put 9,
It's going to call all the numbers.
Sometimes it yells. So now it's giving you everything because you went beyond the number you have in
Yeah, the list. Yeah.
Is understood. You code 9.
Yeah.
Had 80.
Understood.
So this is exactly what happened.
Understood.
So now we had so someone was asking me, let me say, I love programming so much. So let me put this so much into quotation. I need to show you this. Now you see there's a problem here. You've got quotations, quotation. So how can we solve this problem? So the easy way is if you want to have a quotation in quotation, you need to use either a double quotation for one and a single quotation for the other one. You use a double quotation for this and now it's fine. So now there is another thing we use length. You can say print length course. That length course will tell you the number of values you have in that course. Now let's see, it says we have 35. It's counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 30, 34, 35. It's counting everything. It's counting what? It's counting everything. Because why? Because we actually see them as strings. We didn't see them as what? As list. But if I decide to pull this into what? Into an angle bracket. If I decide to put this into angle bracket, I want you to see the amazing thing about programming language. Once I put it into angle bracket, it sees it as a what? As a list. So now let's print the length again. Now, you see, now you have a problem, Because it's not saying let's remove all of this print we ordered here, and let's try to print the length and let you see. It's only one. Can you see? So it's only one thing. The length of this, all of this is one. So it's seeing it as only one entity. So because you put in quotation in only one place. So now let's put a quotation in. Let's have a quotation here and have another quotation. Print the length again. It sees it as what? As still one. Because there is a quotation still covering all of it together. So this is exactly, but now I'm going to put a comma after it, and I'm going to run it again. Then it says it as two, because now it's been separated as a separate entity by this comma. Is understood? So this is now you see it's getting complex, huh? So now you're going to know that being a programmer is not something of saying, I want to learn programming now. You have to just take your time and be patient with it. So let me break it down before the time runs out. So what we talked about today is called indexing. So we talked about indexing a list. We talked about index. I forgot actually I was supposed to talk about indexing when we were talking about string. So I just remember that if I didn't talk about it, you might think we cannot index a string. A string can also be indexed. So that was why I did this. So when a string is being indexed, is indexed one word per word. Is understood? Is indexed one word per word. So our program, it is going to index. If you run the length of this now, it tells you it's 25. It sees it as a separate entity. But if you are having a list, what makes a list different from a string is a angle bracket. Once you have an angle bracket, it sees it as a list. It does not see it as a string anymore. If you want to print the type, if you say print type course. Print type course, it will tell you what it is. It tells you it's a string. But if you tell it print type is my list.
My list.
My list. Excuse me. Print my list is going to give you what? It's going to give you a list. So you can see it's not the same data. It's different. So this is exactly what makes a difference. So we will be stopping here and we will continue from there in the next class. So I want you to also practice as much as you can. If you have a question, feel free to send me questions on Telegram and on WhatsApp here, and I would answer your questions. I like the way the question was asked by the other person who asked the question about the index. So indexing is not something difficult. It's very easy. Just understand it and we'll work on it better again to